So we have a new update in the advanced server which is 1.6.62. In this patch, a lot of heroes got an update, especially Akai, wanwan, masha, hylos and so on. And we're gonna see everything in detail. First is a revamp on Akai. The animation is not updated yet, but we can clearly see that the frog is gone.
And like that, he's gone.
Instead of jumping, now his first skill will dash, and if you hit an enemy with your first skill, you will throw them in the air for 1 second, and after hitting an enemy, you can able to decide where you want to rebound. Just like Brody's second skill, you can able to control that with your joystick. And now his second skill will look like this. Before, there is a possibility of missing your second skill, but not anymore, because this revamped second skill will create damage to all the units around you, so there is no possible way to miss a target. The revamp on his ultimate is what disappointed me. Instead of doing constant stun, now his ultimate will have an interval between stunning the target, which is sad because Akai is well known for his ultimate.
First blood.
Did you hear the new commentary? I feel like it is similar to the League of Legends. What do you think? Next is the adjustment on wanwan. In order to make it easy to be used by a lot of players, now they have decided to reduce the weakness from 4 to 3, which means you can able to trigger your ultimate faster compared to before. If you hit all the weakness, you will deal 40% damage. If not, you will deal 50% damage of each basic attack. The duration of her ultimate is also reduced from 2.5 to 2 seconds. To be honest, this is a good update on wanwan. Next is a buff on belerick. Now the taunts from his passive will target enemy even though if he has a shield. So they decided to reduce the HP that he gained from his equipment by 10%. And now they have removed the immobilize from his ultimate. Instead, his ultimate will trigger his passive faster. Hence, the taunts will hit the enemy frequently and it will create damage. Next is a nerf on Masha. The HP growth that she gained is similar to the last patch, which is a buff. But the energy cost of her first skill is increased now. Before, your first skill will cost 2.5% of your HP from your one boar. But now it will cost 2.5% of HP from all of your 3 boars, which has a tons of difference. Before, her ultimate will cost only 30% of her HP in the early game, but now it is 50% in all level. But to compensate that, now they have increased the damage of her ultimate. On comparing to the original server, it's still a buff on Masha. Next is a buff on Guinevere. She will no longer gain lifesteal from her passive. Instead, her passive will reduce the cooldown of her first skill. Usually, if you use your first skill, the cooldown will be like this. But if you hit the enemy with your first skill, the cooldown will be lower. And also, they added a new effect where you will gain lifesteal from her first skill. Next is a buff on Xavier, and he is the next hero that is going to come in our official server. In order to make him more efficient, especially in the late game, they decided to increase his base damage by 50 points, especially in the late game. And also now they have reduced the cooldown of his second skill by 1 second. Are you excited for this new hero? Next is a buff on Hilda. Her second skill base damage is increased by 25 points in all level, and the cooldown of her second skill is also lower compared to before. And now you will no longer gain stack by killing or getting assist. Now the stack system is totally dependent upon your target. For each hit, you can able to see the stack is growing up on the enemy. If you reach 6 stacks, your damage will be increased by 35%, and your ultimate damage will be 30% of your target's max HP. After this update, we can expect early game Hilda. Next is a buff on Grock. You will gain more physical defense if you have more physical attack points, which means if you add physical attack item in your build, you will gain physical defense from your passive. And the shield that you gain when you are near to the wall is also increased now. Instead of just creating a damage, now you can able to stun the enemy for 1.8 seconds with your ultimate if you hit them in the wall. 1.8 second stun with the damage is an insane buff. And the cooldown of his ultimate is also lower compared to before. We can definitely see Grock in the rank after this update. Next is a buff on gatotkaca. Now they added a new effect on his first skill where the continuous damage will deal 200% damage to the minions, which means he can able to clear fast and can be better silently. And the taunt duration of his second skill is increased by 0.5 seconds, which is a good buff. Next is a buff on Martis. I don't even understand why Martis even need a buff. The damage calculation of enhanced basic attack that he gained after using his second skill is adjusted now, and the base damage of his ultimate is increased by 150 points in all level, which is an insane buff. Next is a nerf on Zask. Zask is lately overperforming due to the lifesteal buff that they gave in the last patch. So they decided to slightly reduce the lifesteal that he gained from his ultimate. Next is a nerf on Hylos. Developers feels like that Hylos is slightly overperforming, especially in the early game. So they decided to reduce his base HP by 100 points and his HP growth by 20 points. The movement speed reduction of his second skill is reduced by 2%, especially in the early game. In the late game, it is just the same as usual. Next is a nerf on Atlas. Now his passive will no longer reduce the enemy attack speed by 50%, but on comparing to the official server, it's still a buff. Next is the nerf on Baxia. The base damage of his second skill is reduced by 25 points, especially in the late game. But again, comparing to the official server, it's still a buff on Baxia. So what do you think about this update? Do you like this update? Do let me know what you guys think in the comment section. See you until the next video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.